Welcome to Beyond the Chutes is presented by ParaSight Systems. Trent McFarland is a rodeo clown, the funny man, the rodeo entertainer in the arena, and he performs most weekends about 10 months out of the year. You're going to hear some road noises on this episode because we caught Trent in his rodeo office, his pickup truck, where a large part of his rodeo business time is spent. Another part of life on the road with rodeo, the cell phone signal strength is how we sometimes measure success. I first met Trent at the Benton Rodeo in Benton, Pennsylvania about 6 years ago. He was traveling with his entire family and all were involved. I remember he was always available for anything that the rodeo committee had in mind. It was not unusual for us to be standing in the rodeo arena at 5 in the morning to be part of the morning show out of Scranton, Pennsylvania. We then would have breakfast in downtown Benton for a morning radio show and then came back to the rodeo arena for sound checks. Then the show at 7:30 each evening, Thursday night through Sunday night. In this episode, Trent talks about growing up in rodeo, learning the art of rodeo clowning, and those that influenced his style. He speaks about life on the road, balancing family, rodeo, and his nursing profession. We hope that you enjoy this episode as we go beyond the chutes with Trent McFarland, Rodeo Entertainer. Today, we've got Mr. Trent McFarland. Now, he's a professional rodeo entertainer and barrow man. He's on the phone with us. He is down in Montgomery or around Montgomery, Alabama. Trent, are you there?
Yes, sir. I am here. I am loving it. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing good. It is great to hear your voice. It is great that you're on the show today.
It's great to be talking to you, Doug. You came into my life early in my rodeo career, and I've always enjoyed visiting with you.
Absolutely. And speaking of visiting, I was at the Benton Rodeo this year. Hard to believe, 38 years. That great committee.
Right?
Yeah, that is crazy. And you've been there a number of times.
It is definitely by far one of my funnest shows. I love going to it. You know, it's like going home to family when you go to the rodeos you've been to for a long time, and you're in with the committee, and you know all the people that are coming and going in and out of the gates. It's great.
You bet. You bet. And that's kind of up in your neck of the woods, right? You were brought up, born and raised up around North Washington, Pennsylvania.
Well, sort of, kind of, Doug.
Okay.
Sort of, kind of. I'm kind of behind 57.
Okay.
I don't fit in really anywhere I go all the way, no matter where I'm at in the country.
Right.
They say, you sound weird. You talk different.
Yeah.
Well, I was born in Wyoming, okay?
Okay.
And here's the backstory on that. Is some kids are lucky and born in a rich family.
Yeah.
And I got extremely lucky and was born in a rodeo clown family, okay?
Right.
So, Dad was rodeoing up in the Northeast at North Washington.
Okay.
He was from Alabama.
Yeah.
He met the country bumpkin, the local girl that was at the rodeo and booing on the cowboys, and he worked his magic, and next thing you know, they're in love. They traveled all over the country and moved to Wyoming, and that's where my brother, I, and my sister were born.
Okay.
So,
all right. And he worked the Cody night rodeo up there for a long time, didn't he?
That's right. He went there, I think his first time was in the early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's where he fell in love. Lived there, and I was born in 1980, and he was still working the nightly.
Okay. And when did he start to tug you and say, hey, I need help with an act, or I need you to help me get ready for an act even? Maybe you didn't go into the arena originally? Do you remember growing up, Trent?
Yes, sir. So there are a few small memories of us, getting makeup put on for parades and various things. But back in the early 80s, when times got tough in Wyoming, they shut down all the oil fields during the energy crisis,
Mm-hmm.
and there was no work to be had. So Dad would work the Cody nightly during the summer, work big game hunts in the fall, and then throughout the winter and whatnot, he got a good job driving oil tankers. And he'd go all up in the mountains and haul oil out. Well, when they shut all the oil fields down, there was no good way to make a living in Wyoming.
Okay.
So Dad backed off from the rodeoing about 84, 85. And next thing you know, we were moving to Alabama, where he was from, kind of regather the thoughts. So he took a break from rodeo whenever I was fairly young. And, that was kind of, I was a little too young to truly grasp it, but, I loved being around the rodeo as a young child. I got all the good memories of winning the ribbons or winning a 6-pack of Coca-Cola from the stick horse race at the nightly, But when Dad stopped rodeoing, then, it kind of evaporated from my mind. It really wasn't a thought because I was young.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, Mom and Dad kind of decided they'd go their separate ways. Mom carried us up to Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Which is how I ended up living up there from 86 to 95.
Oh, my. Okay.
So I'd live with Mom during the winter and whatnot. And during the summer, hey, I'd get to come down and stay with Dad, get to, be around horses. And he was a farrier by trade.
Oh, okay.
Well, next thing you know, we're down here one summer in 93, and a rodeo producer in the area needed a clown. Something had happened, and he needed a clown desperately. Knew Dad was a clown before he retired and quit. So he called him up and said, "Look, Sid, you're funnier with a broom than most guys out here with axe." He said, "I need you to do a rodeo."
Okay.
And here's where it gets really interesting, is back in the 70s, the first rodeo my dad ever put makeup on was in Selma, Alabama.
Selma,
Alabama. That's right.
Okay.
Rodeo clown needed help. He was entered up in the rodeo. And next thing you know, he's getting a little bit of money to help the clown do the show. And Dad put on makeup. And, man, hey, he went from working like all day long in the hayfields for $20 to making it in one night at a rodeo.
Okay.
He done stuck a fat hog. Happy days are here at last. He'll never be broke again.
Yeah.
So when Dad was young, he started first rodeo in Selma, Alabama. Well, here I am, 25 years later, born in Wyoming, living in Pennsylvania. Dad gets a phone call and they need a rodeo clown. And the first rodeo I ever put makeup on at was Selma, Alabama.
Oh, my. Okay.
So that's unique, right? That's interesting. I'll take it one step further.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to me, 25 years or more later, my wife and I would marry and go looking back through the memories. She was a junior queen, junior princess that year at Selma, Alabama Rodeo.
Okay.
So we never would have known it. 25 years later, we finally meet. But that's cool. That's cool stuff.
Absolutely. So Selma was was that your first rodeo professionally where you said, "I'm an entertainer"?
I don't really know if I could claim that as, I'm a professional. I got put on makeup. I was 13 years old.
Okay.
Got out there in the arena, helped Dad do the various skits that we came up with, or some that he had already done for years.
Yeah.
And I remember being scared and looking at Dad and saying, "Dad, well, what about the bulls? Should I leave the arena during the bull riding, or should I stay out there with you?" He said, "Oh, son," he said, "the worst they can do is kill you. They can't eat you."
Right. So you were in the arena. You were in the arena the entire rodeo, Trent?
Oh, yes, sir. I got to be part of the show. And man, I was bitten by the show bug right then and there.
Okay.
But
yeah,
that was, just Dad helping out somebody doing a rodeo.
Yeah.
Well, by the next summer, that guy had Dad hired for a run of rodeos. And, we were going every weekend that summer when I came back to visit Dad. We were traveling all over the Southeast. And finally, I told Mom, I said, "Mom, I know what I want to be in life. I want to be a rodeo clown." I was 15, broke her heart, but it was time to move to Alabama because I'm going to be a rodeo clown. And I moved down to live with Dad.
Okay. So 15 years of age, you moved to Alabama and kind of an apprenticeship then under your father?
Absolutely. That'd be the best way to put it. Apprenticeship. I worked for him for the next 20 years.
Oh, really? Okay.
Let's see, 95 to 05 to somewhere around 15, 20 years.
Okay.
Dad and I traveled every weekend rodeoing, and he let me know straight up. The school grades start dropping, the rodeo is done with.
Okay.
He wanted to make sure I got a good education to where I didn't have to depend on rodeo for an income or for, like he was a horseshoer.
Mm-hmm.
He knew that wasn't a career that someone can do for their entire lives in their 60s and 70s.
Right.
So he wanted more for me on that aspect. And it was good to grow up shooting horses with him because in front of a forge in Alabama summer where it's 110 degrees outside.
Yeah.
When I got of age, I could go get a job. I went to an air-conditioned grocery store.
Okay. Pretty smart move there. Pretty smart move.
Right?
Yeah.
And now I work in the operating room where we keep it 62 degrees year-round, and it's nice and comfortable. I complain if it's 64 degrees in the operating room.
Okay, understood. And we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that in just a bit here, okay?
Yes, sir.
Very, very interested in that. So, worked with your dad a whole bunch of years. What was your breakout, get out on the road, go your own, you're your own single act now, Trent?
Well, so for quite a few years towards the end of Dad and I rodeoing together,
mm-hmm.
I had guys wanting to hire me. Hey, we need you. We would like to hire you. Hey, can you? But I always felt obligated that as long as Dad needed me,
yeah,
I didn't want to leave him
high and
dry,
mm-hmm.
stranded.
Mm-hmm.
I felt obligated.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would end up doing a lot of the physical labor in getting the acts ready. And back in, say, 94, 95, Dad bought a really prestigious act
mm-hmm.
with the Ben-Hur chariot race. He had 2 white mules, 2 black mules. The white ones pulled a red chariot with flames. The black mules pulled a black chariot with a lightning bolt.
Holy cow.
And it was good versus evil, right?
Okay.
What that meant for me was a whole lot of work.
Yeah.
Because I had 4 mules to wash. I had 4 mules to harness. I had 2 chariots to assemble and disassemble every show, paint, get all the stuff. It was a lot of work.
Okay.
And so Dad got to where, he really depended on me, and I got to be a pretty good hand when it comes to doing the skit and getting everything ready. And we developed so many routines together that people just expected Sid and Trent.
Yeah.
As a package.
Yeah.
Well, hey, it worked out great for me. I was in school. I didn't have any major expenses to get to the rodeo. I rode with Dad.
Mm-hmm.
And the memories we made together are priceless.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Absolutely. And what's interesting, and maybe some of our listeners don't know, you use the words, your dad purchased that Ben-Hur chariot race act.
That's right.
Talk a little bit about that. What do you mean purchased?
Well, there's 2 ways to come up with a clown skit in the rodeo world. You can either invent one, or you can buy one.
Mm-hmm.
If you know the good skit that's for sale, and you can go out there and make a good living with it, then you can purchase it. The one thing you do not want to ever do is look at somebody's routine and say, okay, I'm going to do that. And go out there and basically steal what they've worked years to develop.
Okay.
So Dad had this skit come across his radar, and the skit had, every clown that ever used it went to the NFR with it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's been around for 40 years or more.
Okay.
It was a timeless type of act. And there's still times I have delusions of grandeur of thinking, hey, I might need to break that skit out because it was great.
Yeah.
The man was in a lot of work.
Yeah. Now, do you still own that, or your dad still own that act?
Well, he kind of sold it to somebody, but never really got paid for it. And the guy told me where the chariots are if I ever want to go get them. But,
Okay.
I've thought about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
so you run with your dad for a number of years. Your
That's right.
bills are paid. Your expenses are covered. He's driving down the road. You're running as a duo, right? It's Sid and Trent.
That's right.
We got the pair here.
Oh, yeah.
And so when did you decide, I'm going to take a left-hand turn here, Dad. I'm going to go out on my own?
Well, here's the deal. Dad retired from the Montgomery Fire Department because that was, He got a good job working at the fire department. And next thing you know, 20 years later, hey, he's a cowboy with a retirement coming.
I see.
So, holy cow, that was a smart move on his part. Well, he went to Iraq for a year when he retired. He was going to go over there and make the big money as a firefighter in Iraq. I think it was like, Operation Desert Storm. No, not Desert Storm. Iraqi Freedom.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yep. So he did a
went over
deployment.
He did a deployment for a year as a firefighter.
Okay.
And that opened up my doors big time. Next thing you know, I'm looking at 20 rodeos that year. Well, I'd already been doing it for years, and I had a huge, advantage over someone who's just starting out because I knew a lot of the rodeo producers.
Okay.
I knew the flow of a show, the flow of a comedy act, things like that. Now, granted, for all those years Dad and I were together, I didn't wear a microphone.
Oh, you
did? It was just me. I was the body of the act. I was the pantomime. I was the silent person doing the skit.
Yeah.
And that's huge because I was able to learn all that I can use to this day that doesn't require needing to talk on a microphone.
You bet.
And so next thing you know, I'm out there doing the rodeos for a year. Dad gets done. He comes back. He says, "Hey, son, you ready to go do some rodeos?"
Yeah.
I told him, "Dad, you ain't going to believe this. You remember how you paid me like a couple $100 a weekend?
Yeah.
These folks are willing to pay me $1,200 a weekend. Can you believe that?"
Absolutely. Yeah.
So he kind of knew what the deal was at that point. He said, "Yeah, I understand what's happening now." He said, "All right, you need to buy your own barrel."
Okay. And
you bet, Dad. You bet.
Okay, so you picked up 20 rodeos. You go from working with your dad as a duo. He says, "I'm going to retire." You picked up 20 rodeos. Were those basically the rodeos you guys had been doing together?
It was for a rodeo producer that we had been working together with.
Okay.
And that year it was great. I got to work at finals, and my first finals ever by myself. And there was a whole unlearning now. Holy cow.
Yeah.
I try to bury all the pictures from them early days starting off because I was not the polished guy I was today.
Okay.
And I'm still working on it. Every one of us that are in the profession, every time you go out, you learn something new.
Certainly. So what year was that you did those 20 rodeos on your own for the first time?
My memory's a little foggy, but I think it was like 2008 maybe.
Okay. So that was
2008 or 9.
Yep. And then I have here that you went to the IFR showcase a couple times. You were the champion in 2011, the Comedy Act Showcase champion in 2011, and you repeated in 2014.
That's right. Yes, sir. I went out there with some acts that I was really proud of, because I was able to take things I learned from Dad and take skits that we had done together, tweak them.
Yeah.
I had the nursing income behind me to be able to put more money into acts and didn't have to necessarily live off of the rodeo paycheck.
Okay.
So I could kind of reinvest the money back into the quote-unquote business.
Okay.
And so I was able to start, getting car acts. I was able to come up with the same type of skits that Dad and I was doing, but now all of a sudden I've got a really cool miniature ambulance. Or now I've got a race car and carried them out to the showcase, entered them up, won the buckle and paycheck.
Okay.
And just kind of started getting more and more shows and working my way up the ladder.
Okay. So I want to go back just one few steps ago. You talked about needing to buy your own barrel, your own clown barrel, your own bullfighting barrel. Where do you find a bullfighting barrel? Where do you find one? Yeah.
It's not at Walmart, I promise you that.
No.
And as a matter of fact, that was a long time ago I bought that barrel. I've got a little bit more of a dad bod since then.
Right.
So I'm currently needing a barrel as we speak, unless you know where I can find a barrel stretcher at.
Okay. Yeah. No.
But so I shopped around. Dad bought a barrel from Dwayne LaBeouf.
Okay.
in Louisiana.
Okay.
I ended up finding one in Arkansas from, I think, the Sheep Clinic. I forget the name of it there in Arkansas. And they made clown barrels. I don't even know if they're open anymore.
Okay.
But I was able to buy an aluminum barrel.
Okay.
Versus the cheaper steel barrels.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
And now here's the deal.
Yeah.
I could save $600
Yeah.
if I was to buy a barrel without pads.
Without pads. Okay. Yeah.
Without pads.
Yeah.
Now, I'd already repadded Dad's barrel a time or two, so I knew how to do it, right?
Right. Right.
But okay, well, I'll just buy some foam and put on the inside of the barrel.
Yeah.
And I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, I got the barrel, and it's time to get it padded up, and I went and priced out foam, and it was like $600, $700 for foam.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. They were real proud of the foam, all right?
Yeah.
But hey, you won't ever accuse me of being extremely stupid.
Right.
All right?
Right.
I waited for trash day in Montgomery, Alabama.
Okay.
I started driving around the neighborhood. Sure enough, I found a couch that somebody had thrown away.
Okay.
Hey.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Here's my foam cushions. Perfect. Hurry up, jumped out of the truck, threw them in the back.
Yeah.
Took off. Got back to the house, got them up, put them down in the barrel.
Yeah.
Off to the rodeo I go.
Okay. And?
First bull to come to the barrel. I drop down in the barrel, waiting for the impact, and I'm braced up, and I'm pushing against the walls, ready for the wreck.
Yeah.
And I get to smelling. What is that smell? God. I realized that the person threw the couch away because the cat had done peed all over the couch.
Oh, okay.
It took a year and probably $100 worth of Febreze to get rid of the smell of that barrel. I'd come up out of the barrel and have cat hair stuck all over me.
Yeah. So buying your next barrel, are you going to let them pad it for you?
You know what? I'm probably going to buy one from Sean Caldwell.
Yeah.
Caldwell Creations. They make great barrels.
Okay.
And it's worth the money. But back then, I didn't have the money. You know, I was a guy starting off. I was trying to go as cheap as I could.
For sure. So what does an entertainer budget these days? For a new barrel. What's a new barrel? All padded up. Got all the logos on it. Now you got to think of the vinyl and everything goes with that. Ready to roll out in the arena. Looks nice, sharp, clean. You better have a budget of.
Yeah, so when I priced it out, I was with Sean Caldwell about 4 or 5 years ago in Salinas. And when I was in Salinas, he was there, and I visited with him, and we hung out all week. And he said, "Trent, I'll make you a deal, buddy.
Yeah,
I'll make you one for $3,200."
$3,200. Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I've been trying to suck it up and try to make it fit. But you know, part of my comedy skits that I do is I'll end up falling down in the barrel. Right? Yep. I'll go butt first in the barrel.
Yep. And
I've always been able to just fold up.
Okay.
Hold my feet to my chin and just drop down in it.
Yeah.
I did a show about 3 or 4 months ago, and I was feeling stiff from the weekend before. I thought they were going to have to bring a can opener out there to get me out of the barrel. Okay, I was wedged myself in that thing. I had folks that I knew sitting in the crowd that come from work to watch me.
Yeah.
I had to pull my foot down past my face, had to pull the other one down. I mean, it was like playing Jenga in there. I had to
Oh my goodness! You got to be flexible if you're going to be a rodeo entertainer. If you're going to be a rodeo clown,
you got to. Because I know I'm not getting down like I used to. I used to curl up in a ball so small I would lay on my side and push out against the wall.
Yeah. And
now I'm kind of in there. My neck's cricked over, and if I'm not careful, part of my head ends up on the barrel that's not padded.
I see. Okay. And how often do you get hit? Is it once a performance? By a bull, I'm talking about. Yeah.
You know, it depends on what rodeos you're working.
Okay.
Some guys, they haul a fighting bull, and, every performance, you're going to get hit at least one.
Okay.
You go to Cowtown, New Jersey, know you're going to get hit about 10 times, not more.
Yeah.
You go to Okeechobee, Florida.
Yeah.
They've got some killers down there that are going to come out and wreck the barrel.
Okay.
So certain rodeos you kind of expect it, but there's not as many nowadays that want to haul a mean bull because they don't want to take the risk of injuring their back pen health. They don't want to take the risk of injuring cowboys or the bullfighters.
Yeah.
So a lot of them are what I call a campaigner. The bulls know their job. They buck the cowboy off, and they go straight to the outgate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
now
it's kind of hit or miss.
Okay. Now, when you do get into those tougher situations with those fighting bulls, you work with the bullfighters and you say, hey, if you need to roll me this way. Let me know it's coming. Well, what kind of talk is there in the rodeo arena as you are fighting bulls? You're tucked down in the barrel.
That's right. That's right. You're blind. You don't know what's happening. And it's like being in a car wreck, you know?
Yeah.
You're going from 0 mile an hour to 50 or 60 mile an hour in a split second.
Yeah.
You're getting thrown every which way, kind of like being inside of a washing machine on the tumble cycle. And you're getting thrown every kind of way. If you're not braced up and really pushing against the wall, I've had my knee come back and hit me in the forehead and about knocked me out. Okay. Yeah. There's been guys who have been shaken loose from it. And if you get an arm or a leg or a head or anything outside the barrel, it's as good as broke off. You bet. Yep. You're going from a 2,000-pound bull pushing you to the weight of the barrel and everything else. Yeah. And it can be extremely dangerous. You bet. I'm lucky. I'm way past due on a something bad happening. Yeah. I've been working the barrel since I was 15. Yeah. And no injuries? I remember, knock on wood, I've come up stiff. I've had ribs knocked out of place. Okay. From where I've been hit in Homestead, Florida. I'll never forget it, man. What a hit. You get one of them big old framers hitting that, and if they don't slow down, a good bullfighter can kill me or save me. You bet. And talk a little bit about that, Trent, please. Absolutely. A good bullfighter can make all the difference in the world to me and the bull riders and everything. Because if a bull is coming out there and going to hit my barrel and he's running as fast as the bull can hit, then he can sure enough impact me as hard as he can, and it's going to hurt. Where a good bullfighter might kind of step out from the side of the barrel, throw a little fake, break that bull down just a little bit, but everything else. And next thing you know, the bull hits me, but not as hard as the initial impact. Okay. And then all of a sudden the bull, once he hits the barrel, you're kind of at his mercy. But a good bullfighter will keep those open ends away from the bull, not allowing for a horn to get in there or a head or a leg or whatever. And they'll work and can really, they're my lifesaver at that point. They're on the outside communicating to me. A great bullfighter will let me know, hey, you're good, or hey, he's 20 feet out, he's 10 feet out, get ready, hold on, here we go. Yeah. But once you drop down in, you don't know what's happening. You're blind. Okay. And you can only push against the walls for so long, being pushed out, pushed out and stressed and straining for so long before you get tired. Well, if you think that bull's already come by and he's not going to hit the barrel, but you don't know he's right there and he's fixing to chili whop it. Once you get loose, you're like a pinball inside of the arcade game. You're getting knocked all over, shaken loose, fall out, whatever. And there's been guys that have been killed. There's been guys that been knocked out on a regular basis. Wow. Okay. Because of being in the barrel. Yep. Okay. So with that in mind, a good barrel, well padded, well constructed, is vital to what you're doing. It's not just a prop out in the rodeo arena. That's right. It is more than a prop. It's your lifeline, and if you go cheap on it, it can really cost you big time. Absolutely. So you talked about you've got a job, so you got some money, and you're investing in acts. So you can reinvest, you said, into your program. So what acts are you working this year? How many? And do you have anything new coming out this year? Yes, sir. So I would dare say I've got more acts than anybody in rodeo. And that's just because, to me, a great rodeo clown is all about a big act.
Yeah.
I grew up watching Lecile Harris, Keith Isley, my dad, Quail Dog. There's a huge list of the guys that travel big acts. And to me, that's what a rodeo clown is. Now, if I want to stay closer to the house and not travel further across the country, then I've got to figure out ways to reinvent myself every year. I've got to come up with new skits, new routines.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I love going back to the same shows. And some guys, you can't make them go back to the same show because a lot of what you do doesn't work the next year. It's not as fun to them.
Mm-hmm.
But you change up your comedy skits, your big act. Next thing you know, you can come back and, oh, man, hey, it's Trent.
Yeah.
And you become part of the family, part of the community, part of the committee. So having a large selection of acts is big to me. And I held off on getting my PRCA card because I didn't think I was to the level of having enough acts. Because I thought everyone was like Lecile Harris, Keith Isley. You know, they're great. They might be there 5 years in a row and do 5 different skits.
Yep.
And so, the first year going out to the PRCA Vegas convention, it was kind of an eye-opener whenever I realized that not everybody out there was Lecile Harris. Keith Isley. There's a lot of guys starting off, and they had what they had. But to me, it's all about big props, big acts. I've got 3 car acts, a race car, an ambulance, and a taxi that I got from Lecile.
Yeah.
I've got trick roping, trick mule, a hat clean routine that I did a variation with my dad years ago, and I absolutely love it. It's always a huge reaction from the crowd when I use that one. To me, that's an old act. It's kind of been around for forever.
Yeah.
But it's such an old act. Whenever I do it at these bigger rodeos, people are like, man, what an original act. That's great.
Yeah.
They haven't seen it.
Okay. Has anybody tried to copy that act from you?
The act cleaner is kind of like a few other acts out there where everyone's got a variation of it. I can't really get mad at somebody for doing it, but nobody really does it the way I do.
Okay.
Where I pull somebody from the audience, and next thing you know, the boyfriend gets out there, and I have more comedy and stuff built into the act than just blowing up a hat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Don't get me wrong, when I do that, it's a big sell and it gets everyone off guard, but there's a whole lot more into the developing of the act, the setting up, the selling, things like that. But Chutes, that I said, a few of the acts. I've got also sharpshooter, magic act, rocket act. I got a 8-foot tall rocket act that is a lot of fun. A good friend of mine, I ended up getting it from him when he retired. And, it's just something I enjoy doing because it reminds me of him.
Okay.
Volcano.
Yeah.
And, I came out with a new skit a couple years ago with my kids where they get out there in the arena and they're the world's youngest bullfighters. And we introduce them, and I love doing that. It makes me happy on the inside, and the crowd gets a great big kick out of it by the time the bull comes out there, and it's a man-eating bull, and he ends up eating one of the kids.
Right. How fun.
But we ended up getting a bunch more acts from Lecile Harris when Lecile passed away in 2020.
Okay. What new acts did you pick up? Can you share?
You bet. I got his piano act.
Okay.
Mr. Friggins, which I always loved. It was growing up watching him do it meant a lot to me, and the fact that I've got that act, makes me smile when I see the props. I've got the golf club act from him. Black Bart.
Yeah.
I ended up getting 5 or 6 routines from them that were polished skits.
Yeah.
That I could easily take and go in the arena the very next weekend.
Okay.
And make money with.
Okay. So it isn't just getting the props; it's getting the outline of the skit, the lines, the timing.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Lecile Harris was meticulous on it's all about timing.
Yeah.
Or as he would say, timing is not everything. It's the only thing.
Absolutely.
A simple pause here can emphasize what you're about to say there.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, you only learn from doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
From being out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And that immediate feedback you're getting from the audience as you're doing these, right?
It's addictive. It is. I bet guys do that for the response.
Yeah.
More than they do it for the paycheck.
Okay. And that's interesting.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing like the high, the adrenaline rush you get when you're out there trying your hardest and the crowd gives you a big payoff. Mm-hmm. Man, you feel like you are 10 foot tall and bulletproof.
Absolutely. So how do you...
The other thing...
Go ahead.
Yeah, not to cut you off there, bud, but the other side of that equation is if things don't go the way they're supposed to...
Yeah.
And it flops right there in front of you...
Yeah.
You can't dig a hole deep enough to hide that audience.
Now, have you had some of those instances, Trent? Have you really had some of those instances?
Absolutely. I've had times where a car would crank up and leave the arena.
Yeah.
And you're trying to figure out how are you going to sell it? Or a major bomb doesn't blow up. It's like, oh my gosh, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And it would always amaze me how my dad and the great would take something that didn't go right. Mm-hmm. And they would almost make the act funnier because all the cowboys knew how it was supposed to go. And, things are off the rail now. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
And it would amaze me by how they were able to do that. Mm-hmm. You know, wow. I got there in that moment and would have nothing. Absolutely nothing would come to my mind.
Yeah.
And I'd figure out a way to make it funny or as funny as I could.
Yeah.
But then I learned the secret about that.
Go ahead. Do share.
When something doesn't go right.
Yeah.
You've got thousands of miles to think about it in the middle of the night about what you should have done. So naturally, things are going to happen again. Well, shoot, you've already been there in your mind a million times, and you know exactly how to sell it. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Do you look forward? I mean, is it okay in some of those cases where the bomb didn't go off or something didn't happen? You go, you know what? I got some new material here. We're going to roll off this, and it's as if that's what the plan was.
Roger Mooney was one of the ones who kind of pulled me off to the side early in my PRCA career.
Yeah.
And he kind of told me, he said, look, dude, when you get away from the script, that's when you find the gold. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of truth in that. When things don't go as planned or you don't have a plan, you'll stumble upon stuff that's like, holy cow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw that in the act next time, and it just happened by mistake this time, you know?
Yeah. So being able to improvise in those moments, being able to tap into that creativity that makes it all work, right?
You bet. You bet. You got to roll the punches and have a quick wit.
You bet.
But it's funny because I always tell guys that are asking me, starting off, how to become a clown. How do they do it?
Yeah.
And I kind of tell them the best example I've got is like going fishing.
Okay.
When you're going to a pond you've never been to, you don't just go all the way to that pond with one lure in your pocket. Mm-hmm. You got a tackle box. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you'll throw this out there, and if it don't work, you might change it up and throw this out there.
Okay.
Well, a good rodeo clown kind of has to do that. You've got to have your improv comedy. You've got to have your routine skits. You've got to have your stand-up jokes. You've got to be a little bit of a dancer and a cheerleader. You got to do just whatever it is to kind of feel that crowd up. Montgomery, Alabama may not work in Salinas, California, or Bellevue, South Dakota, or Cowtown, New Jersey, or wherever you're at.
Yeah.
So you always got to kind of change it up a little bit, find the rhythm, and when you tap into that, when you tap into the vein, you know you got them.
Okay. And a couple things I want to draw on from what you just shared there. What stand-up comedians do you listen to? Are you getting your material that way? Who do you just enjoy watching or listening to?
Oh, wow. What a great question. There are so many comedians. I'm always listening to stuff.
Yeah.
something I think's funny.
Yeah.
TikTok videos nowadays are changing things up.
Okay.
It used to be back in the day, you'd kind of have to read the magazines that you didn't want to be caught with in order to get the joke.
Right.
You know?
Oh, that's what you would say when you got caught. No, I needed the jokes.
No, I'm reading. I'm researching.
Oh. So times
Reader's Digest is not something cool to be seen with, okay? Get your mind out of the gutter.
That's right. That's right. No, I hear you. Of course. That's where I was. So times have changed, and how have your jokes changed over the past few years?
Oh, there's always that's interesting that you say that and bring that up, because I think people's attention spans are shorter than what they used to be.
Okay.
When Lecile Harris would go out there for his leadoff joke, he might have a 3-minute long joke with a punchline at the end.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you'll lose an audience if you try to tell a joke that long. Well, I'll lose an audience. Lecile could probably do it still. He was the greatest.
Yeah.
But, nowadays, shorter joke, multiple punchlines thrown in there. You might have a 2-minute segment, but tell about 4 or 5 jokes.
Okay.
Their attention span has been shortened, and I can only bring it up to, social media.
Okay.
TikTok day and age, where if something's longer than 15 seconds, somebody's not going to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's changing our whole world, whether you want to admit it or not.
Yeah.
So comedy changes, and things that used to be acceptable,
right,
and a little more risque.
Yeah.
Nowadays, people are a little more sensitive to certain things.
Okay.
So what Dad would tell back in the 70s and 80s doesn't necessarily fly nowadays. You're going to hurt someone's feelings. And then when you do hurt someone's feelings, back then they might, write an email. They might, hey, this was bad. Or better yet, they'd send a postage letter.
Yep.
Letting someone know that they didn't appreciate it and they were offended. Nowadays, within a minute of somebody seeing something they don't like, they can go on social media, get a tidal wave of momentum behind them, and overnight you are smeared all over national television and the media for being a bad person, where they just took one joke out of context or something.
Yeah. So how do you choose your jokes and material? I mean, do you vet them in some way and say, okay, this has to be maybe just a complete dad joke, which is hard to offend anybody?
There's times and places for all of it.
Yeah.
You got to fill the audience out.
Mm-hmm.
I'll try a lot of my new material out on my coworkers in the operating room.
Mm-hmm.
They laugh all the time saying, okay, here we go. I tell a joke or something. And they'll be like, yep, he's testing them out on us, aren't you, Trent? I'm like, you bet. If I can't make y'all laugh in here, then I'm dang sure not going to carry it out there to 3,000 people.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, for sure.
But, you kind of throw something out there, and if people laugh, and you kind of get the momentum going, then you can kind of hone in on what you're doing. However, if it's something super sensitive, political, things like that, I might throw one little jab, one little joke, and then I move away from it as fast as I can.
I see. Okay.
Someone can get their feelings bruised, but if you keep punching on the sore spot, you're going to break skin, and that's when they're going to get real mad.
I see. Okay. So move away as quick as you can. I remember years ago, and this was back probably in the 90s, I remember being at a rodeo in upstate New Jersey. Keith Isley was working it, and nothing he did worked. I mean, jokes, nothing he was doing was working. Tell us about a time when you had a tough crowd. And what do you do when people are sitting on their hands or frowning or whatever it may be? Have you had those situations?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I think anybody in the business has had those moments. I was in Arkansas, and my leadoff joke kind of fell flat. I thought, well, this is odd.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you know, I'm telling 2 or 3 jokes that are kind of falling flat, not much of a response. And it was like, okay, now it's time to, so when I started getting a little panicked, because you're starting to lose the crowd. Whenever you say something, they're not liking it.
Yeah.
I had to think, okay, let's change this up. What can we do different? I started telling, I was in Arkansas, in the very backwoods of Arkansas, Next thing you know, I start telling booger picking jokes.
Okay.
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 Their Coca-Cola out. You know,
Sure.
the jokes I was telling were a little bit too complex for them.
Okay.
You know, or I've been in other situations where the jokes weren't really flying the way they always do. Your go-to material just wasn't hitting.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you fall off and the fence, maybe land on the fence, split the rail, do a little physical comedy, throw yourself out in front of a pool and jump over the fence and run up and sit in somebody's lap. The physical comedy is something, it's a different variation of comedy, and that took off.
Yeah.
And once you start building that momentum and folks start laughing or giggling, then a giggle turns into a laugh.
Okay. Okay. And what comes to mind, you talked about not being mic'd up for a lot of years working with your dad, where you had to depend on your physical movements in the rodeo arena to entertain.
You bet. And sometimes I'll even catch myself nowadays where I'm so focused on what I'm saying that I don't try to get the big body presence, the arm movement, the facial expression, the things that, really people hone in on.
Yeah.
Yeah. If your wife says she loves you, but doesn't look you in the eye and give you that look, it doesn't feel the same.
Right. Right.
So whenever you're telling a joke and you're so worried about what you're saying that you're not really getting into it, moving with it, making eye contact with that crowd, it doesn't have the same response.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
And let me just ask this question. So what makes you laugh today, Trent?
Oh, what makes me laugh is other people laughing.
Okay.
That's the best response I've got. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's so many jokes that I've heard of, so many jokes over the years that very rarely do I come across a new joke. Okay?
Yeah.
But I'm always about a new joke. But whenever I hear somebody hear a joke that I've said 1,000 times and they get a kick out of it, then that makes me laugh. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, really? That's what you thought was funny? Because everybody has such a wide variety of what they think's funny.
Sure.
I hate it when someone comes up to me and says, "Hey, Trent, oh, you're a clown, huh? Oh, well, tell me a joke, makes me laugh."
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't work that way. Because what I find funny, you may find, a dad joke. You might find it too blah.
Yeah.
Or whatever you find funny, I might find vulgar and offensive.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's so wide variety. But, a good comedy show, you always kind of lead off with a couple good jokes, but you're building momentum to the final sell joke.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay.
You hit somebody with a sell joke too early, that kind of rubs them the wrong way, but you build up to it, now it lands a different response.
And you can tell when the crowd's out there connecting with you?
Oh, absolutely. You bet. Yeah.
And what's that feel like?
It feels like you're a conductor at a symphony.
Okay.
You raise your hands up, they respond, they do something. I always like to interact with them, make them respond, and physically move at the very beginning of the show. As soon as I walk out, I want to do something and say something to them to where they've got to physically respond. Okay, now I know they hear me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I know they can understand me.
Yeah.
Let's get to doing some jokes and start fueling that fire a little bit, and kind of give it to them and see their reaction. And then you're always assessing and kind of reanalyzing it while you're doing it. Okay, how's this going? I don't know. It's a weird science, and I'm a dork like that, I guess.
Okay. And you're connecting with the crowd, and you're paying attention. They're giving you feedback, and that's it sounds like that's giving you a lot of energy too.
Oh, it does, man. There's nothing like it. It is the greatest feeling in the world.
Okay.
To the point of which a lot of guys, it's cost them a lot of heartbreaks and heartaches because you keep chasing that thrill from entertaining the audience. And next thing you know, it can take, a devastating turn at the house.
Say more.
You know what I mean?
Say more.
Oh, well, I mean, that's kind of the behind the chute stuff going on right here. I'm talking about kind of getting into the deeper sides of what it's like to be an entertainer. You're out there living for the limelight, chasing your own spotlight. And, it's fun. boy, you end up with, a girlfriend, a wife, if you're lucky, that enjoys the lifestyle. But it takes a whole nother person to want to go with you, 15-hour drive to go up to Wisconsin and entertain for the weekend.
Yeah.
They're not out there in that spotlight. They don't feel that reaction from the crowd. They reap the rewards of the paycheck, but whenever you're out there doing it, they don't get the same feeling that you do.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, they're not as eager to go. Hey, we're going to go to my girlfriend's. They're planning a beach trip, and and my family's doing this. Whatever. And next thing you know, you're kind of out there doing your own deal, building into the persona, building into the career you've made and invested time in, and earning the living that is required at the house to make ends meet.
Yep. Okay.
But you're living two separate lives, and that can be really bad.
Okay. Well, let's talk. We're gonna go down that road just a little bit, and I'm gonna ask this question. Tell us the real story, the true life of a rodeo clown. What's it like? And what I mean by that is, tell me about the challenges of the road. Tell me how do you plan your runs and your schedules, right? And how far ahead do you book your shows?
Well, these are great questions. So whenever I was in high school, Dad said, Trent, you can do anything you want to be in life. If you want to be a truck driver, you can be a truck driver. If you want to be a logistics person, you can be a logistics, mechanic, a pyrotechnician, a comedian. Yeah. You can do all these different jobs, or you can be a rodeo clown and do all of that at one time, okay?
Right.
Because it takes every bit of it. You got to be the long-haul truck driver. You got to be the mechanic to work on all the stuff that, breaks down while you're driving or getting to the show. And you open up the back of your trailer, and next thing you know, your car's sitting on 3 wheels instead of 4 because it gets beaten down by the road going there. Yeah. So you're asking about the details of the job. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, spot on. You're in exactly the same place. I mean, breakdowns along the side of the highway at 2 a.m, right?
Yep.
Trying to find fuel stations that are open, whatever it may be. Yep. And no doubt that some of that's gotten easier over time. So, I mean, you're driving a typical rodeo week. Okay. And let's say it's a Friday night through a Sunday night performance. You finish up Sunday night. It's 11 o'clock at night on Sunday night. So pick us up there. It's time to go home. Take us all the way around to where your next Friday, you've got a brand new show, and maybe it's 10, 12 hours from the house. So pick us up Sunday night, 11 o'clock at night. What are you doing?
Well, okay. So typically my average show in the Southeast, when I'm not off on my run, I'll take about 6 weeks where I go rodeoing out on the road. The rest of the year, I go back and forth from the house. If it's within 12, maybe 15 hours, I'll drive from the house.
Really? Okay.
So I'm not living out on the road. That way I get family time. Yeah. I can work the day job and things like that. So my average show, Saturday night, when I'm done, I sign autographs until the last person leaves. I take pictures with everybody, and I show the same enthusiasm at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night as I did at 7:30 that night before the show kicked off. Yeah. If they want to sit there and spend time at the show and money to watch what you're doing, the least you can do is take a picture with them and visit with their kids, cut up, things like that.
For sure.
That's the job. Yeah. Then all of a sudden they walk out. Now the other job begins. Okay. You go back to the trailer, you take off your makeup, you kind of regather your thoughts for a quick minute. Then you've got about an hour to an hour and a half of loading the trailer, getting all the props back on, the car's parked, chained down, barrel loaded, things like that. And if I'm lucky, midnight or 12:30, I'm hitting the road. Okay. If I'm around the Southeast, I'll try to bring it on into the house.
You will. Nonstop. You'll drive it overnight.
I'm driving overnight. I'm up all night long from 12:30 at night till 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. Pull in the driveway, I'll park out by my shop, back in where I go. I'll plug my trailer in, and Wendy and the boys know that whenever I get in that late, I'm going to sleep out in the trailer for a little while just because I can get quiet time out there. You know, they're on a different schedule. If they're not with me, then they're on a different schedule. They've got a good night's sleep. They're up at 6 in the morning, and it's time to live life as a young, you know, kid.
Yeah.
So now I'm sleeping in the trailer for a few hours. Wake up about 4 hours later, 3 hours later, whatever. Now it's time to have family day.
Okay.
Or if I'm in, say, by 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, then by 9:30, we're headed to church.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
Time to get us some Jesus, because if we don't have him in our lives, the rest of it's just going to fall apart.
Right. Right.
All right.
Yeah.
So then, now we got a little bit of an afternoon to spend time together. Sunday night, it's time to go to tuck the kids in bed, go to bed, and 5:30 the next morning, I'm out the door, headed to the hospital, headed to the operating room.
Okay.
All right. So I'll work. I got an hour drive to where I work as a nurse first assist. I'm an RN first assist, specializing in orthopedic surgery, neurosurgery, and brain surgery. All right. How crazy is that to think rodeo clown is going to be a brain surgeon, right?
Right. Right.
Well, not a surgeon, but assist. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll work the day job. All right. So I'll work in the operating room 6:30 in the morning till 5 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
I get home at 6 o'clock at night. I spend time with the boys for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Time for them to go to bed. I do that 4 days a week, knock out 40 hours a week, if not 45. And then Thursday night, I'm back in the truck and trailer driving all night to the next weekend's rodeo.
Okay.
And do the show Friday, Saturday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatever it is, and then repeat the cycle.
Okay.
I do that about 9-10 weeks in a row.
Okay. Do you have to take anything to the dry cleaners? I mean, you got some great outfits.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My dry cleaner knows me real well.
Okay.
And my wife does a great job of making all that stuff happen during the week. Whenever I'm going to the hospital and whatnot, and when she takes the kids to school, she'll drop off the dry cleaning.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you have to unload anything? Do you have to clean anything to get ready for your next show? Do you say, oh, I want to take this act instead of that act?
You bet. I've got a book where I have all the stuff wrote down about what rodeos I've done and what acts I've done. And I don't ever want to repeat the same skit.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see the same movie and pay money to see it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll do a little bit of research before it's time to head out on the road.
Yeah.
Find out what skits I can take. And, I'll reload the trailer Wednesday night after I get off from the hospital.
Yeah.
And then Thursday, go to the hospital. And sometimes I'll leave straight from the hospital and hit the road.
Okay.
With a whole new loaded trailer. Sunday afternoon, after I have a little family time, I unload laundry and reset the trailer if I need to and go back to work,
Okay. And then, so drive in another 12, 15 hours, get to your next show. Let's say it opens up on a Friday night. So you're leaving work on Thursday night. Talk a little bit about what you do when you get to the rodeo grounds and what comes to mind, promotions, TV shows. You got more responsibility than just being in the rodeo arena at showtime.
That's exactly right. Before I ever get to the show, I touch base with the committee or the rodeo producer and find out what they're expecting of me.
Mm-hmm.
If they've got a bunch of PR stuff lined up, then I kind of make a schedule. Okay, I need to be there by such and such time. I might need to have makeup on and be on the news at 5:30 in the morning. As folks are waking up and getting ready for their day, they get to see my ugly face on TV.
Yeah.
And you got all kinds of obligations you got to take care of and help promote the show because, I might just be little old Trent McFarland.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing special to me.
Mm-hmm.
Around my house, there's nothing special about me.
Yeah.
However, you drive, 20 hours somewhere else.
Yeah.
And these people have been working on their rodeo all year long.
Yeah.
This is their one weekend. They finally get to reap the rewards of their hard work. And they're looking forward to seeing you. You're big to do in their world.
Yeah.
And so it's time to go to work.
Yeah.
You're never off the clock as long as you're at the rodeo.
Okay. So
whether you're PR in it, doing PR stuff, or just visiting with committee, you're always on the job, and you're always trying to promote the rodeo you're working and the rodeo company you're working for.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter if you're tired and been up all night driving.
Nope.
Yep.
Nope. Does not matter.
Okay. So
you better pull over and sleep on the way there if you need some rest.
You bet. So how do you get ready for a show? Let's say it's a 7:30 performance on a Friday night. How do you get ready for the show? When do you get ready for the show? And I know that includes working with an announcer on your acts. You say, I'm going to do this act tonight, and stepping through that act with that announcer. But when do you start when's it get serious? We got to run up here to get ready for this show.
Usually shortly after lunch is when it's time to kind of get serious. It's time to start, getting the acts ready and pulling them off the trailer and making sure things are going to operate the way they need. Do they need painted? Do you want to touch them up? And anything you take in the arena, part of being a showman, needs to be pristine. It needs to look like, wow.
Yep.
People are paying money to see it.
Yep.
You want to give them something to be seen.
I see. Yeah.
So getting props ready can take some time, make sure they work correctly, wiring up pyro for the skits. That takes a little bit of time. And then you got to go do a mic check, make sure we got good sound. Because sometimes, you need the help out. And if they're having a hard time with the sound, new sound guy, they don't have speaker set quite right yet. There's all kind of variables that can happen that will require you to take on the education you've learned over 20 years, 25 years, and use your ears and say, okay, we need to address this. Because once the gate opens and the show starts, it's a show.
Yeah.
There's no, it needs to be ready whenever the show kicks off.
Yeah.
So whatever you got to do to kind of make that happen. And then on top of that, getting with the announcers, as you very well know, Doug, you were one of my favorite guys to ever work with.
Well, thank you.
But you would always take time during the afternoon. We'd go over the acts in detail. I hate to ruin the illusion for anybody listening, but there are certain things that Clown does that may look like we're just stumbling out in the arena. But we kind of had, okay, here's how it's going to happen. When we say this, we'll say that. We'll kind of have a set direction we're headed. And it takes time to choreographer that. What's the word? I'm just I'm just a redneck from Alabama. What's that word?
Oh, no. Choreograph.
Yeah, that word.
Well, I was there on Saturday night, and I talked to you right after intermission, I believe it was, maybe during the barrel racing, and you're soaking wet. I mean, it had rained, you're sweating, you're in the middle of a show, and the show goes on, and I gotta say, you looked great. You just absolutely looked great. The outfits and that sort of thing. So I'm gonna go a little bit. This is called behind the chutes, right? Beyond the arena, beyond the rodeo crowds, beyond the spotlights. I'm going to ask a few personal questions here. So how'd you choose your makeup?
That's a great point. So rodeo clown's makeup is like their fingerprint, right?
Yeah.
Every clown has their own look. You don't want to copy somebody else's. And Dad got tired of putting makeup on me when I was about 14.
Yeah.
He said, okay, son, it's time for you to learn how to do this on your own.
Yeah.
Come up with an idea. And my stepsister, Dad's girlfriend's daughter at the time, we sat down, and she was a heck of an artist. And next thing you know, we kind of said, well, I'm a bit of a sweetheart. We'll put the hearts on the cheeks. And, God's extremely important. We're going to put crosses on this, Next thing you know, we developed the whole face pattern, and I've been wearing the same makeup pattern since 1995.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And
I wish it was a better story.
No, that's a great story. I mean, my goodness, the longevity of it. And have you been tempted to change anything of your makeup set?
Well, I mean, not necessarily the makeup per se. I maybe took out a line or two that was just a little bit too busy. Dusty Crane Dickerson one day, she's a heck of a showman, and she said, Trent, that's a little bit too much around your eyes. Can you leave that off? And it looked good. She had a good point.
Okay.
My look has drastically changed.
Yeah. From
when I first started, I had a pink hat and a polka dot shirt and a neon green hat that I wear. So I decided I wanted to church it up a little bit and make it look a little better. There's a shirt from my dad's friend, Clyde Van Voorst, had a shirt in my closet. Mm-hmm. He was a world champion saddle bronc rider, in 1978, I think. Okay. And he passed away when we lived in Wyoming. And that shirt hung in my closet for, my entire childhood. Okay. And all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I like that red, white, and blue look to it. Mm-hmm. I like the silk yoke around the neck. I just like the way it looked. Mm-hmm. And took it, went and had some shirts made up like it. Got rid of the pink hat or the neon green hat, and I started wearing a red derby. And thanks to my wife, she helped out drastically on that image as well. And I liked the way it looked, and I've been doing it ever since. Okay. Excellent. I'm known for that one simple, the one outfit. Yeah. And for our listeners, you can go to TrentMcFarland.com, and there's some great pictures. I got to tell you, Trent, I love your webpage. Very engaging, lots of color, easy to operate. The perfect kind of web page for someone like me. But to our listeners, if you go on there, you will see pictures of Trent. I'm going to include that in our notes. I'll put a link to your webpage, Trent, in our notes, in the description to the show. And to our listeners, go take a look. You'll see his makeup. You'll see the colors. You'll see a lot of his acts that he's working. And notice the really bright, vibrant colors that he puts into his acts. Yeah. To me, a clown should look like a clown. Yeah. I know that sounds silly, but there's so many guys nowadays that want to be rodeo clowns, but you can't really tell them the difference between the bullfighters and them. Yeah. I've noticed that. I have a very I'm not knocking them. Yeah. It works for them. Yeah. But my dad was a clown growing up. He wore a blue wig. Yep. I wanted to be a clown, and when kids look out in the arena, I want them to be able to spot me. I want them to know there's the clown. Yep. Because if you're not entertaining the kids, parents are not going to buy a ticket and pay for a babysitter. Right. The kids are there. You got to entertain the kids. And so I've got a yellow wig. I got yellow bandanas. It's easy to spot me. Bright colors. You bet. So when you get up in the crowds, like you did on Saturday night, it was easy, to be able to spot you, as you just said. I enjoy being a clown. Some people are afraid of offending you and saying, "Are you, can I call you a rodeo clown?" Absolutely. Yeah. I am a rodeo clown and proud of it. Yeah. Well, just so you know. One of my earliest memories, I was at a rodeo. I was probably 5 years old, and there was a rodeo clown, and we sat fairly close to the arena. It was an indoor arena, a Bob Barnes rodeo, and I was scared to death that clown was going to come over and do something with me that might embarrass me. So that's just my story. I've had to work through that, Trent. And then you made a career out of clowns picking on you and making fun of you. Absolutely. It's all come full circle. So do me a favor. Describe Trent McFarlan when the makeup comes off. Oh, that's a good question. I don't think I even know who I am, to be honest with you. When the makeup goes on, that is a completely different guy. Okay. It's weird to say that, but my persona, my personality, everything changes. It'd almost be considered like multiple personality disorder. Okay. In a way. And there's things that guy can do that I can't get away with. Yeah. You know, I make a comment to a pretty lady, you know, doing the whole flirty, jokey thing. As a cowboy, it comes across different than the clown.
You better have your orange wig on if you're going to do that.
Yes. If I express interest in a kid and kind of cut up with them and, you know, and kind of, you know, show attention to them in whatever way, as a cowboy, who's this weird, creepy guy?
Yeah.
Versus the clown, oh, okay, he's just having fun, you know?
Yeah.
It's completely different.
So have you noticed that with the makeup on, you're interacting with somebody, you hit it off with somebody, and an hour later your makeup's off, you're standing beside them. Do they recognize you still?
No, that happens all the time. That's why I started getting my sponsor shirts from Wrangler. Okay. I started getting my sponsor shirts with my name put on them.
Okay.
Because I'll show up to functions, kickoff parties, you know, whatever, a day before the rodeo.
Yeah.
And I'd be there, and people would be nice to me.
Yeah.
But a little bit standoffish.
Yeah.
And then the next night at the rodeo, when it kicks off, they're like, man, where were you last night? I was there. You didn't recognize me, but that was me,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah. So
now, back in the day,
yeah.
Pre-wife, that worked out really good because I could, you know, hit on a cute girl.
I see.
If she didn't like what I said, then I'd take the makeup off and I'd try a whole different tactic.
More improvising. I like that. So here's another question. Are you funny all of the time? You told about being in surgery and trying out some new routine. Okay. Some new jokes.
That's right. Surgery.
Yeah, going up and down the road. I mean, just you sitting and talking. Are you funny the whole time, or?
I don't think I am.
Okay.
I don't think I am. Some people, they got a different opinion, and they think, you know, to me, I'm just me.
Yeah.
I've been around some guys, and you were laughing, you know, it hurt.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm necessarily that guy per se.
Okay.
I don't know that though. I mean, that's just my own personality or my own opinion. You know, to me, I'm boring and dull.
Okay.
You know, people will find out, man, you do this. How come you didn't know that? Well, shoot, I've always done it. You know, it doesn't impress me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's just what I do.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's a lot of times in the operating room where, you know, they'll think, that's all I do is cut up. In a very serious, you know, when it's time to be serious, it's time to be serious.
You can do it.
But in the operating room, whenever that time has passed, and it's such a high-stress situation, a well-placed joke can make the entire outcome of the surgery change.
You bet.
You know,
you bet.
Now people can relax. Well, let's get back to our job. Okay, you know, here we go.
Yeah. So how
worked out good.
Perfect. So how did you decide to become an RN? Where did that come from? Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, I was already wearing a makeup, and the male nurse was the next logical choice. No, you know, my mom was a nurse.
Oh, she was. Okay.
Dad was a clown. I saw it where the demand was that I'd always have a job with benefits, sick leave, retirement. And then I saw where the fun money was, the big paychecks, whenever they come in, they can be really good rodeoing. And I enjoy that outlet and being able to entertain.
Yeah.
So being an operating room nurse kind of marries those two ideas together perfectly.
Okay.
Because when a patient's scared going into the operating room, that's a life-changing experience for them. They, you know, have maybe never been in surgery before, and they are terrified. So if I can cut loose some jokes and help them relax prior to going to sleep, or if it's an extremely situation, you know, a bad trauma, and now, you know, we've got the bleeding stopped, we've got everything under control, and you can tell a joke where everyone kind of can relax and, you know, catch a breath, and now we can, you know, grab that second gear and get back to work and finish the surgery. You know, it works out really good. Plus, in the rodeo arena, if something goes wrong and a cowboy gets hurt, I'm the first one to them. I can assess them. Okay, is this serious? Is this really bad?
Yeah.
Do we need to, you know, get them out of the arena? Do we need to call in the paramedic? You get the paramedics out there, they're going to stop the show for about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
They're going to package them up because now they get time to, you know, I don't want to talk bad about paramedics. You know, I'm not beating them up. But now they've got 2,000 witnesses watching every move they make.
Yeah.
So they might, you know, do everything extremely by the book. You know, this guy might have a stumped toe, but now we're going to put a C package on him, and we're going to package them up, and do their thing, and other. Mm-hmm. Not a good situation. So if I can find out, hey, buddy, what's going on? Where's it hurt? Mm-hmm. Oh, it's my foot. Well, get up and get out of the arena. Quit laying out here.
Right.
All right?
Right.
It might be some local yokel guy that got bucked off, and because he only rode for, a 0.01 seconds, well, now he's going to lay out there for 8 minutes so his girlfriend can see him.
Right.
Get out of here, dude. Stop.
There's a time for bedside manner, and that's not one of them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I got to leave that at the door whenever start slowing down the show, and it's not needed. Yeah. And I also have no sympathy. Yeah. I have no sympathy for sports athletes to get turf toe and get to lay out there in the field, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't get it. I broke my femur.
Yeah.
I shattered my femur.
Yeah.
And dislocated my elbow. And, it wrecked me out bad in the rodeo arena. Yeah. And I was wearing a microphone. Yeah. And all I said over the microphone was, please turn my microphone off and send in the ambulance. Right. There wasn't no hollering and screaming and carrying on. It is what it is. Toughen up. Come on.
Always the performer. Always the showman.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Of course, at that particular show, I just came out with an ambulance routine that year, and all my cowboy buddies thought it was part of the skit. They're like, "Oh, this is great! Hey, he's asking for the ambulance. Yo, watch this!" They were laughing, and finally it got like, "Oh, this is serious."
He's serious. Oh, this is not an act. This is not an act.
Someone came up to me and said, "Man, are you okay?" I said, "No, I broke my leg and I broke my arm." Well, it went over the PA system because the announcer even thought it was part of the skit.
Okay.
It was not a good situation.
Right.
And that's when the nursing job came in handy. I was able to tell them, "Okay, guys." When the paramedics come to me, I was like, "All right, I need one of you to put traction on my femur, to straighten it out."
Yeah.
And they're hold my arm and of course. They packaged me up, and I threw the thumbs up, and everyone went to scream, and I was like, God, this is cool.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's a cool feeling. But it really wasn't that cool because about 2 months of pain and recovery, that 5 seconds of cheering wasn't worth it.
Yeah. That's for sure.
They carried me out back, and they were holding on to my arm, and my wife was, Wendy, and she was holding my arm, and it was dislocated at the elbow and fractured a little bit. And it was really not looking right. And I said, "You got my arm?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Are you sure?" She said, "Yeah." And I grabbed my wrist, and I pulled on it and popped the elbow back in place. I said, "God, that feels better."
Oh, my.
Everyone at paramedics looked at me like I was insane.
I think I would have passed out. I think I would have passed out if I watched you do that.
Hey. I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew a dislocation hurt a lot more than whatever I could try.
Okay.
Yep.
So you mentioned Wendy. Of course, you got the 2 kids, Cody and Ryder,
right.
9 and 7.
Yes.
Do you guys live on a farm? Do you have horses, animals?
We live in the most perfect place for those 2 boys to grow up.
Okay.
We bought we got 110 acres here in Alabama. And we bought it from the neighbors of my in-laws. Mm-hmm. My in-laws, they have 1,000 acres.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Family farmland has been in their family for generations. Mm-hmm. And so here's these 2 boys growing up with all this land. They're 7 and 9 years old and will take off on 4-wheelers, ride all over the place. They swim in the pond. We've got various creeks around here with swimming holes, and they run, we'll go swimming in the creek. It's just a place for boys to grow up. Mm-hmm. We run a deer hunting operation, and so we got all kinds of deer hunting and hog hunting, and there's never a boring moment where you're sitting in the house saying, "Oh, I'm bored." Yeah, it's like, you ain't bored. Get outside.
Now, let me just point something out here. Based on what I'm seeing your rodeo schedule, mid-February, you're on the road. And basically come back off the road mid-November, not counting finals that you might be working later in the year. So,
That's right.
You're doing all of this other stuff, the guided hunts and everything needs to be done on the farm. Basically, what are we talking, from December through January, 2 months?
Well, I'll try to take off the month of January because that's when our deer season gets really serious.
Okay.
Alabama deer season, the rut hits mid-January to second week of February.
Okay.
Where everyone else is done hunting in November. We're just getting fired up.
Okay.
And so, I try to take off in January, not always successful. Sometimes I'll take a few rodeos, but I am married to an incredible woman that can do more than most men. Okay. And that's why I fell in love with her, because I knew she was not just a trophy wife that was arm candy, but she was functionable. All right. She could handle it.
Okay. Yeah.
And with my schedule being what it is, she's a hand. She would jump on a tractor with a 20-foot bush hog and go to bush hogging here in the next few weeks, actually.
Okay.
I'll have a couple weekends off maybe this fall. We'll get food plots put in for the deer and we'll get the grounding, tilling ground and breaking it and planting. We run deer feeders year round that require someone to ride and put out feed. She handles all that. She's a heck of a hand.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And when a hunter shoots a deer, she can clean a deer faster than I can.
Yeah.
Which scares me.
Okay. she's learned a lot of skills. That is very cool. Now, a few years ago when I was working with you, the family was traveling with you. Wendy was part of your rodeo act.
That's right. That's right.
Is she able to, or the kids able to travel with you as much?
Well, they're not able to go as much as I would like for them to go. My oldest, he's 9 years old. We got a 7-year-old and 9-year-old.
Yeah.
The 9-year-old, he needs a little extra help on it, his reading. Unfortunately, he kind of takes after his daddy.
Okay.
He's got that ADHD.
Okay.
And, it kind of kicks his butt. He's got dyslexia.
Yeah.
And he's having a hard time. He's the most intelligent kid I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
But he's having a hard time with letters. So the last 2 summers, instead of living on the road with Daddy, they've been here at the house. He's been studying with a tutor 2 or 3 times a week because, that education is important. It's fun to rodeo.
Yep.
But you need to have your backup plan because the rodeo life will pay it eventually.
Okay.
And and I don't want him to be like so many of these cowboys that, they might be a world champion cowboy one year, the top of the world. They might win, $1 million.
Yep.
And then 30 years later, they're working as a farmhand, just trying to, earn a living enough to pay for the electric bill and a little bit of food.
Yeah. Absolutely. So the education for sure. Do you think either of the boys might be interested in following your footsteps?
I would sure like to hope so. And it makes me smile when they're out there because I can see that fire igniting.
Okay.
I can see the way they love it when the crowd responds. And I've got a garage full of acts that I've accumulated all over these years that I would like to pass down to them, kind of like my dad did with me.
Yeah.
So time will tell, but I got a good feeling that'll be the way it happens.
Okay. And you alluded to this a little bit earlier, young folks saying, hey, I want to be a rodeo entertainer. I want to be a barrel man. I want to be a funny man. What advice do you give, or what would you give to somebody that tells you, yeah, I want to do what you do? What's your advice?
It's the greatest job in the world. You get to travel all over the country. You get to see a lot of the country. Now, mainly, you see the country from midnight until 5 in the morning when a white line in South Dakota looks like the white line in Florida, okay? When you're on the highway at night, it's night. But it's a great career to get into, to see the world. You can make a lot of money, a good living doing it. Yeah. And it's very fulfilling. You get to be, the man. You get to be the life of the party. You get to be the one everyone looks forward to seeing, and it's a lot of fun. Okay. If they want to get into it, find you a small rodeo association nearby. Okay. Get out there and, and learn what you can. Go watch folks. Okay. Study up on the craft. Keep working on it. Yeah. And you'll eventually work a small show. And all of a sudden somebody else sees you and they're like, hey, I'll pay you to come work our rodeo 2 or 3 weeks from now. Yeah. And you go from doing it for free to making, $600 for the weekend.
Yeah.
to making $1,200 for the weekend to making up to $2,500 a performance.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And you're there for 5 days. That's a lot of money to get paid as a crazy clown.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But and still, as we've covered, I mean, man, the acts you've got to create, the timing you've got to learn, the jokes and the sensitivity of things these days. How do you sort through all that stuff? Have you considered rodeo, maybe starting a rodeo school for clowns? Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to say I have. There's a few schools out there.
There are. Okay.
That'll teach guys how to work a barrel.
Mm-hmm.
In conjunction to guys learning how to fight bulls.
Okay.
You got guys who are learning how to work a barrel.
Yeah.
But you can't teach somebody in the course of a weekend how to have timing and tell a joke.
Yeah.
That's just something you got to get out there and work on and work on. And people who enjoy entertaining, they know who they are.
Yeah.
You know, there's guys I've tried to push into being a clown because I knew they're getting older as a bullfighter and they needed to have that money. You know, it's a lot easier to be a clown than it is a bullfighter.
Yeah.
You know, back in my dad's day, you had to be, you know, you went from riding bulls to all of a sudden somebody would pay you to be a bullfighter. Well, you're already used to running from them, right?
Right.
So now you're getting paid a little bit of money to go to the rodeo versus spending money, entering up the rodeo and never winning it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good business plan. But back then, the bullfighter had to be the clown, the entertainer.
Yep. Yep.
That's not the way it is nowadays.
Yeah.
Nowadays, guys can be bullfighters, and that's all they'll ever be. They're happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't make some bullfighters get into a barrel and get hit by a bull.
Right.
They want that freedom to be able to run away from it versus you're there till the bull is done with you.
Yeah.
You know. But that being said, bullfighting, there's a lot more of them because every bull rider's used to running from bulls.
Mm-hmm.
So now they become bullfighters. But when the show goes off the rail, when things don't go right in the production, and they say, okay, Trent, it's your job to entertain the audience. We don't want people to leave. It might take 5 minutes. It might take 25 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So now you go out there, and that's when you earn your paycheck.
Yep.
Anybody can clown a rodeo when it's easy.
Yeah.
But whenever it's your job to keep that crowd engaged until the show gets back on.
Yep.
It's harder. It's skill set that's a lot more rare.
Yeah.
And that's why an entertainer make a lot of money.
Okay. So let me ask, what do you think is the future of entertaining in rodeo, doing what you're doing? Do you think it's going to change? How does it change? Yeah. Talk a little bit about where you think this is headed over the next 10, 15 years, Trent.
It's already changed.
How so? So, Trent, what do you think is the future of entertaining in rodeo 10 years, 15 years from now? Is it going to change? How has it changed so far since you've got started?
Well, I think that there'll always be a need for a rodeo clown that can go out there and do the big acts because there's always going to be transitions in rodeos where they're going from the rough stock to the town event. The clown can get out there and do a big comedy skit, and people don't realize that the transitions happened because they're focused on him. However, with PBR and all that stuff coming on, there's a lot more guys going after the Flint Rasmussen, Matt Merritt style, where they can do dancing, clapping, crowd interaction, and that's all the PBRs and stuff need. So now you got a whole lot of guys out there trying to mimic them, and they're not investing in the act. So in a way, rodeo clowns are getting more and more rare because you got so many guys that are hand clapping and doing the crowd interaction. But, you know, gold's worth a lot of money because it's rare.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. Well said. And we have seen a big change as you've talked about. So, so anything that you want to share that I haven't, anything I haven't asked you about?
You know, I can't really say that there is. We've hit everything.
I think
I'm blessed to do what I do. I feel like God chose me to do this job, and And every weekend I go out there, I just remind myself of how lucky I am to do it, and to not waste the opportunity.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the words of Roger Mooney, be humble and don't stumble.
Be humble and don't stumble. I like that.
Yep.
That may be the name of this episode, if that's okay.
Have at it.
So how do folks get in touch with you? Let's say a rodeo committee's listening to this tonight, this podcast. How do they get in touch with you? What's the easiest way?
TrentMcFarland.com by far is the easiest.
Okay.
It's got all my contact information.
Yeah.
But I'm also, Trent McFarlan on TikTok and Trent McFarlan Rodeo Entertainer. I'm sorry, Rodeo Clowning on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I've got to do all the social media stuff, and I've got a pretty good following on TikTok.
Okay.
I know my sponsors appreciate it, because my sponsors are a main reason why I'm able to get out there and do what I do, and they help me get up and down the road.
Absolutely.
So shout out to my sponsors. Thank you, Wrangler, Alabama Farmers Cooperative, South Fresh Feeds, Piranha Life, and Greeley Hat Works. Right?
I love it. Yeah. We've got to weave the sponsors in. We must. That's part of the show. Absolutely. So final question of the night, Trent.
What you got?
Do you have a new joke that you're trying out that you would share with us? Now, it is a G audience. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, so there's that. There's a G audience.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate the heads up on this one. Nothing like putting me on the spot. See, this goes back to, if I say something, someone's going to say, oh, it's a dad joke. It's a dad joke.
That's okay.
There's nothing funny about that.
Yeah.
But when a joke becomes a dad joke?
When's that?
Do you know when a joke becomes a dad joke?
I don't know. When?
When it becomes apparent. Okay.
So just so you know, I love that. I absolutely love that. I'm a fan of anything dad jokes. And just so you know, to our listeners, you can't imagine how many times during the show I may look at Trent and say, Trent, we got a problem with the barrier. I need you now. Bring something out. So he says I put him on the spot. Count on it.
The stupid dad jokes, I'll usually go to a couple of them throughout the show. You try to spice it up with a little bit of everything. You don't use the same seasoning whenever you cook a meal. Yeah. But there are times where I'll use a dad joke and it just fits perfectly.
Absolutely.
You'll hear the folks that haven't really laughed maybe much at all night. They'll get the biggest kick out of the dad joke. Yeah.
And sometimes a groan is as good as a laugh. At least you know they're listening. When
I was in Salinas, California, I told a dad joke, and my buddy, he was a great bullfighter, won Salinas quite a few years in a row. Ross Hill, he's no longer with us. I loved him like a brother. After the show was over, he was dying laughing. He's like, you were at one of the biggest shows on the stage of rodeo, and you told that joke? Oh, we laughed. Oh, good stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a blast. Per the schedule, tell me if this is right or wrong. I showed July 28 and 29. You're going to be in Jackson, Mississippi.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. That's a new show for them, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I'm looking forward to it.
And it looks like you are somewhere every darn weekend. It looks like, if I'm doing the math quickly, until October 6th and 7th, you are out pretty much every weekend. And I know you're still working surgery, but it looks every weekend. It looks like your next off weekend is going to be October, what'd that be, 13th, 14th, something like that.
And I think I booked that already.
Have you? Okay.
Since the website came out a couple months ago, it kind of fills up. I try to take off, though. I try to give myself a break about every 9 weeks.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Well, I've enjoyed our conversation here tonight. This has been a hoot, Trent. I am so glad I got to hang out with you. For our listeners, I sat with Trent in the trailer for a couple hours after the show till about 1:30 in the morning, I think it was, when I crawled back in the motorhome. So great to see him, and I love the energy, and it was just so fun on Saturday night to catch up. And this was every bit as good, Trent. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, bud. Looking forward to it every time I get a chance to visit with you. and I really enjoyed the picture. Okay, that you sent me. That was entertaining, and it was a topic of conversation.
I'll bet so. And just for our listeners, I'll try to get this up. For our listeners, it's about 9:00 in the morning on Sunday morning. I'm on with my nephew on the phone. I'm talking to Troy, and I look out the window, and here's this young lady and a young boy, and she's got a goat on a leash. And she's got Trent's door open, and she's trying to get the goat to go into the living quarters. So, thank goodness I had my phone and I could videotape it, and I send it to Trent, and of course Trent says, now that's a party. That's a party. When the goats show up, that's a party.
That was part of the committee, and really that lady, she had planned on doing that, and everybody knew she was going to do it except for me.
Okay.
And when she opened the door, my mom was on the couch, and she didn't realize my mom was there because she lives, a couple hours from the rodeo.
Okay.
So she seen my mom, and she's like, "Oh my God, I can't throw a goat in there."
I saw her hesitate. I knew she must have been talking. She had second thoughts, and I'm like, "No, don't weaken now. Go on with it."
She ended up panicking. She said, "Just let Trent know we cooked breakfast over here."
Okay. No, I was hoping that goat was going in because I had it on video. It was. Yeah.
It would have been great.
Absolutely.
Old Rowdy Dog would have been chasing it all over the trailer.
Absolutely.
That'd be a heck of a wake up.
That'd be a heck of a wake up. You go, of course, it's a great party. The goat's here. Some kind of party. All right, Trent, my friend, be safe. Enjoy your off weekend. And
yes, sir.
Get ready to roll out there, and looking forward to talking with you in the future.
You bet. Thank you so much, Doug. I appreciate you so much. And hey, thanks for having me on Behind the Chutes.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Take care of things, my friend. It was great to catch up with Trent, both at Benton on Saturday night and in this conversation. I did watch the young lady try to get the goat into Trent's living quarters pretty early in the morning on that Sunday morning. Pretty funny to watch and to video, which reminds me, odds are you are always in someone's camera, so act accordingly. Trent spoke about his relationship with Lecile Harris, the legendary rodeo clown that was inducted into the PRCA Hall of Fame in 2007. I had the unique opportunity of working with Lecile at the Fort Armstrong Rodeo in Ford City, Pennsylvania in 2018. What a gift I received that weekend. I sat and listened to Lecile and his stories. He has a book that he gave me that you should check out. This Ain't My First Rodeo. You can find it on Amazon. I've added that link and several others from my research in the notes for your review. To make your listening easier, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Search for Beyond the Chutes and follow us. You can also check us out on Beyond the Chutes webpage at beyondthechutes.show. Remember, check out the New York State Rodeo Museum Facebook group page and become a member. We also have a Facebook page for Beyond the Chutes. Become a friend and like, follow, say hello, leave us some comments. And we'd like to say thank you to ParaSight Systems for their support with our podcast. ParaSight System is a push-button parasitic diagnostic system for pasture animals, horses, cattle, goats, sheep, and chickens. And for your companion animals, your dogs and your cats. Get the data you need to properly treat your animals for the exact infestation that they are carrying. You can find them at ParaSightSystems.com. This is Beyond the Chutes. Until next time, thank you for listening.